Andrew did a NPR interview. Let's take a look.
History. So this audience laughed their butts off, you know. And then that provoked another question, which is, okay, so you're saying that I did this for sheer, you know, pull somebody in, you know, for the clicks, for the eyes. Are you exploiting them?
No, well, I mean, first of all, both of them already are major influencers themselves.
Exploiting themselves, yeah.
Not exploiting themselves. I mean, Gum Gang enjoys doing stunts. He lives in Central Florida. That's how he supports his family. He shoots himself in the testicle area with potato guns, smokes out of a fish, makes music. Joker Gang's a pretty successful tattoo model. They're both friends of mine. They wanted to fight. I just kind of stepped in to document something that's already happening. So I don't really film people who aren't already filming themselves.
Well, and this idea, you know, that is a fight. I guess my next question is, and I do want to get to some of these incredible moments like the QAnon family, but there's a real whiff of false equivalency. You know, we constantly see these insurrectionists who have been told not just that the election was false, but, you know, that Democrats rape babies and then eat them. They're pitted constantly against Antifa and Black Lives Matter's protesters when we know that Antifa is a stunningly small kind of gathering without a leader movement, and the Black Lives Matter's protests by every study were 93% peaceful. And so you're setting up this, and I know that's where the tension was.
I don't even think he's setting that up. That's like not true. Antifa is not small. No, Black Bloc is a tiny fraction. And ironic because if you had actually fucking watched the documentary that she's like conducting this interview on, that is something that Andrew himself mentions in the documentary.
You know, on the streets. But is that kind of a false equivalence?
It's not what the movie's about. The movie's not the movie's not about far left versus far right at all.
It feels that way.
It's not.
That's crazy. He never even said that. Like, he literally openly states that like Black Bloc is a much smaller component of the overarching like leftist movement, and it's just a decentralized movement in and of itself. That's crazy.
What is it about?
Well, first of all, it's about media echo chambers. How people got radicalized and forced into tight digital echo chambers before the Capitol riot. But there's not much really Antifa featured in here. There's some centrist protesters. There's some anarchists featured, but it's not really about that. And yeah.
Well,
What part made you feel that way?
just that I kept seeing it. You know, Antifa and all the alt-right, you know, colliding into each other when we just know Antifa in particular is so tiny. And when we know the stats about the right, I mean, we know that 40% of Americans believe that the election was stolen. That's a big number.
Yeah.
And, you know, 30% of...
I think that's what this movie's mostly about, is following the right wing. I think following the fringe left would be a separate thing. But the point is that most conservatives, especially during that time...
I gotta pee, I'll be back in a second.
Whereas Antifa, or the radical left, if you want to call it, is a very small portion of what you would consider liberal. But the problem is...
You did say that in the film.
Yeah, what I'm kind of framing is that...
Wait, she said you did say that in the film. Okay, so you understand that he mentions that.
Right-wing media, they used Antifa as the ultimate strawman. Like Tucker Carlson referred to Antifa as paramilitary groups of Joe Biden voters. Whereas MSNBC, I'm not even going to name anybody, but I'm just going to say centrist liberal media wants to make it seem like they don't exist and like all the protests were peaceful. But my question is, what's the problem with non-peaceful protests? Why the constant emphasis on the protests were mostly peaceful? Why not talk to the people involved in the non-peaceful protests and actually figure out what's on their mind, as opposed to try to categorize everything as completely peaceful to prove a political point, because the anger and the tension was there. So no, I don't think the movie is trying to frame Antifa versus the Proud Boys at all. I think it's more of it's following I think my movie follows a conglomerate of InfoWars subscribers, Oath Keepers, 3%ers, Proud Boys, and general QAnon lore followers, and it shows them mobilizing in public, and the people that show up to confront them in public are anti-fascist protesters. So I don't think the movie draws any kind of equivalency between far left and far right, but it does show the circus that unfolds in public political clashes, which generally follows the news beat.
And how about what you just said about the media? And I don't want to spend too much time on this, and I am not carrying Don Lemon's water. But this idea that, both, you call it the left, I call it mainstream media, in deference to my progressive.
I call it liberal media.
Yeah, I don't.
Not
in
leftist
deference
media.
to like Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! And people who really are progressive media. Mainstream media, and then there's absolute right-wing media. And
So you don't consider Fox mainstream media?
not when you got Tucker Carlson.
That's so dumb. Of course Fox News is mainstream media. What the fuck? That's Fox News propaganda right there. These liberals are so fucking silly and so out of touch that they don't realize that they're feeding into the hands of Fox News when they say Fox News ain't mainstream. It's literally the most mainstream media, man. That shit pisses me off. It is literally the most mainstream news, man. It's so fucking annoying. It has the highest viewership in network television news.
It's mainstream media.
Well, considered so by people at more media.
Fox is
leaning to
definitely
the right.
mainstream media.
Yeah, but they lie. How's that mainstream?
Oh my God, this is ridiculous.
No, I mean, I might be old school sitting here, but
Amy Goodwin doesn't agree with her on that point, by the way. Even she refers to Fox News as mainstream. Amy Goodwin. I mean, Amy Goodman? Wait, am I having a brain fart? I was peeing when you're talking about Democracy Now!, right? No, Chatter said Amy Goodwin.
if I lie on NPR, knowingly lie on NPR, I detonate.
It's not about truth versus lies. It's about punditry versus reporting. So if you turn on any mainstream media news, first of all, mainstream media is cable news. So that includes Fox and includes the other ones you said. And if you turn it on, it's pretty much 24 hours a day, not reporters, but pundits yelling at each other and talking heads. They're basically engineered to piss off the viewer, and they organize that sort of verbal sparring all the time.
Do you know though that first of all, I apologize because I said they lie, and I have a lot of respect for some Fox reporters. I'm talking about the nighttime pundits.
Nighttime.
Right.
Dude, come on. Dude, it's like media figures can't fucking help themselves, dude. They can't. They have to rep the gang. You know what I mean? It's like
The evening pundits. But there are some, I know you sigh, I hear you. There are some of us in what I'd call mainstream media who actually think that, as opposed to, what you just said, setting.
Stop doing this. Take an hour off. I've banned a couple other chatters for doing this. Stop sending me literally the most irrelevant, fucking esoteric, formerly left, now reactionary fucking tweets with like 13 likes. You are giving them so much prominence. You are giving them an audience. You are helping them. When people write tweets like that, they do it with a specific purpose so that some dumb motherfucker in this community is dumb enough to get the bait and put it in front of one of the largest fucking leftist outlets out there. Okay? It is very, very stupid. Okay? Stop feeding the fucking bait.
Up this divide that mainstream media actually waited way too long to report on the Alex Jones of the world and Mark Levin's, the people behind this divide that we're seeing right now. I just don't see the equivalency.
I'm not drawing an equivalency. I'm saying the mainstream media echo chamber stokes culture wars and fears and division to sell ads to their sponsors because they're corporate backed. It's just how it works.
Okay.
I'm sure you can turn on TV right now and you can see they're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But what's more valid is obviously I have opinions about that, but
Yeah, well, they have to pay the bills. 1-800-909-9287. What did you want to get from Alex Jones?
Interviews about his plans to storm the Capitol. Interviews about what he meant by 1776, meaning Americans had to defend democracy by any means necessary. An explanation of how his business model worked, and what he thought about America at the time before the Capitol riot.
Yeah. The drinking with him while he lifted weights. I'm serious. I mean, this is, one of the most despicable Americans in our history. How do you think the Sandy Hook parents would feel about drinking with him?
He's looking around like, are you serious right now? What the fuck? Bro, okay, so here's the thing, okay? What she's doing here, even if she's like kind-hearted, otherwise well-intentioned, is precisely feeding into Andrew's point, which is that like you turn on the fucking finger wagging for a liberal audience so quickly. That's insane. Like, you just turned around and you're like, whoa, why did you like platform Alex Jones in that way? Like, why did you platform Alex Jones in that way? Is not the appropriate way to ask that question. That is not that's not a question with an objective slant. That is an accusation shielded like a fucking objective neutral question. It's not a neutral question. And most people are now trained to see that because like we're on Twitter all the fucking time. And especially on Twitch, we're trained to see that because like, guess what? That's what a lot of my chatters do all the fucking time. You know what I mean? Whenever they want to be annoying, they will not ask a question. It'll be shielded like a question, an objective one maybe, also with like a just curious slapped onto the tail end of it. When you're not just fucking curious, you are making an accusation. You are launching an accusation.
You're asking me?
Yes.
Well, the lawyer Mark Banks, who represented most of the Sandy Hook families, loved the scene. He told me that he thought the film was great.
Why did you
It's a really pointed negative question that you just asked me.
Yeah, maybe it is. But you could take that.
No, it's just sort of like accusatory. It's putting me in like a bad vibe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why did I do it? Well, I don't know.
Why did you do it? I'm curious.
There's certain surreal moments that just happen when you're filming something like this that you would feel remiss to not put in the final cut of your movie. Like,
but why did it happen? I'm just curious.
I mean, come on. Like, yeah, if you fucking weight lift with Alex Jones, he's like spraying whiskey on his face. How the fuck do you not put that in there? I mean, that's crazy. Also, none of those things made Alex Jones look good or even humanized him. If anything, those things unironically, it was olive oil, it wasn't whiskey. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. None of it humanized him. It made him look like a fucking psycho even further.
What happened?
He asked me if I wanted to see his gym. Okay, we got to the gym. He took his shirt off, started lifting weights, and then he asked me if I wanted to try. So I don't know if that's in accordance with the traditional standard and pillars of journalism.
Really,
but I was just like, sure, I'll do it.
I find that interesting how that happened.
No, you didn't find that interesting of how that happened. You didn't ask. It was a really if you found that interesting how that happened, you would ask this question. Hey, Andrew, I find it very interesting that you were able to get Alex Jones in a private moment like that to take his shirt off and fucking weightlift inside of his gym. That was very cool. How did that happen? Can you tell us a little bit about the events that led to that moment? That is how you ask that question if you find it interesting. The way you asked the question, NPR lady, was, what do you think the victims of Sandy Hook would feel about you showing Alex Jones in a positive light like that and humanizing him? By the way, what she's doing is the NPR older liberal version of Just Curious. We know the Just Curious Andys in the chat that come in and go, Hasan, just curious. Hasan, how do you cope with living in a $3 million mansion while claiming that you're a socialist, but even though you're like very clearly a capitalist? Just curious. She did that. She did that exact same thing. Okay.
Extraordinary moments. The family, the QAnon family. Did you meet them there in that first scene? Did you meet them at the protest?
What you saw was me first meeting them.
And then so what happened? How did you, that is a very rare interview.
Yeah.
How did you speak to them at home? What happened?
I mean, I feel like when you talk to people and just keep an open mind and really let people speak and ask them why they're there and what's on their mind, these doors kind of open. So I was there, and I'd never seen someone so young at a rally like this, particularly holding a megaphone and being encouraged by his father to yell about, the Clinton blackmail pedophile rings or whatever. So I basically just got the dad's number, went to their house and interviewed the kids.
This young man, he's rattling off QAnon conspiracy theories like they're baseball stats. What are you thinking when that's happening?
What do you mean?
I mean, as you said, you'd never heard something like that.
Definitely, it's concerning, for sure. Makes me worry about the future of the family and how many other kids are in that same boat. It makes me hope that parents who feel that way don't homeschool their kids and allow their kids to be exposed to a diversity of ideas. And it just made me wish that, with that scene, I hope that people can watch that and just maybe don't get their kids super involved in politics and let them make their own decisions.
I couldn't help but juxtapose that little kid with your nephew, was it?
Yeah, Roman, my nephew.
And I felt bad for the little kid too,
For Roman?
No.
Wouldn't she be asking the same thing to an MSNBC journalist who embedded with the Taliban and didn't call them terrorists all day? I don't think so. That's actually a pretty good point too. Yeah. When you are trying to have people open up to you in meaningful ways, if you're an accepted, appropriate person with a Pulitzer Prize, then they're like, oh, that's great that you did that. That's wonderful. I'm glad. Please, accept all the rewards for your wonderful contribution to society. When you fucking do it as Andrew, who is not an accepted figurehead of the media, a part of mainstream media, a part of legacy publications, okay, even though this documentary got him on, A24's radar, this documentary was published on HBO, so he's like now in the process of becoming more mainstream. They're still eating his ass alive because of what he said to Don Lemon and what his position is on echo chambers that are created by mainstream media in general, like liberal echo chambers. I think one of the things that I will mention here with respect to like Andrew's commentary on CNN, the one part that I guess I'm a little bit more different on is that, like, yes, I do agree that CNN does have a liberal slant, but it's usually not towards the things that like the other side is complaining about CNN's echo chambers on, like oh, they're getting everybody riled up about masks or vaccinations or whatever is not necessarily, and I don't think Andrew thinks that either. But I don't think he does I don't think he communicates that point enough. It's more so about like selling weapons, justifying war, normalizing the awfulness that you experience under an inherently oppressive capitalist construct, like the amount of violence, structural violence in the form of poverty that millions, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of Americans experience on a daily basis, that is either often overlooked or straight up fucking lied about on outlets like this, liberal outlets like this, as they manufacture consent. That, in my opinion, is really fucked up.
No, the comparison was pretty amazing. And when you saw the kid again, did you go back? I mean, was this, how much time later was that?
I met up with the family about 3 months after the Capitol riot to kind of figure out where they're at. And spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you guys what they said. I know you guys just saw it. It was interesting because the kid was very much like, oh, the storm didn't happen. And the storm was supposed to be a mass arrest event where Trump would mobilize the military and arrest the members of the deep state, like Clinton, Soros, all that. I think when that didn't happen, it let a lot of people down. And especially for grown adults in the movement, it really hurt their pride. It made them feel like they had been duped and had, followed this rabbit hole toward nothing. And a lot of people said, this storm was the friends that we met along the way. That's what some of them said to me. But the kid was more logical. And he was like, I feel like they just lied to us because none of the predictions of the Q universe ended up fulfilling themselves. So the kid basically explained to me that he felt like they manipulated his dad the entire way. And it was just sad to see.
Sad, but it's also, the kid was like the smartest, most clear-eyed. It was like a child was seeing what seems like a lot of other people couldn't see.
Yeah.
That's good reporting.
Thank you so much.
Right there.
And then the rest of it is just a Q&A, right? So like it's not as attacked. He's not like attacked. The rest of it is like kind of mid, but like, yeah, it is basically just you're not a part of the acceptable, appropriate, legacy publishers when you're making this kind of thing. They say leftists create right-wingers when in reality it's this type of holier-than-thou pandering, condescending liberals what turns people off. No, I think systems are what create right-wingers. the system is slanted to the right, it's going to make a lot of right wingers. Okay, even if like a lot of, I think your better qualities as a human being from the jump are often going to be about wanting to help, having a sense of community, having a sense of purpose, wanting to help your fellow man. Most of that rewiring is done through right wing, how right wing the social conditioning is, and that is built on top of our pre-existing material conditions. So I don't think it's just like leftists or liberals or whatever creating right wingers. Even though I do think that, you know, liberal hegemony, a consequence of our capitalist liberal material conditions and mode of production, is the reason why we have so many right wingers, because that is right wing. That is a right wing attitude. I don't think it's like a reaction to that kind of thing, but this certainly does not help. This kind of attitude certainly doesn't help. It's not helpful. That's all I'm going to say. It sows more divide. Yes. I don't consider it to be helpful. I don't. Major negotiations going down on the floor right now? No, we're not doing that. We're done with that for today. Okay? There's more in the video, not just Q&A after this. Man, people want you in that Twitter discourse so bad. What do you mean? No, it's not Valorant time yet. There's a little bit more I want to cover before getting into the Valo shit. But fuck, I think I'm gonna skip the Ludwig video for today as well. God damn it, it's the second day in a row that I'm skipping it.